Chef AJ Live. I'm your host, Chef AJ, and this is where I introduce you to amazing people like you who are doing great things in the world that I think you should know about. My guest today is Marisa Miller Wolfson. She wrote this amazing book. It's called The Vegucated Family Table: How You Can Raise Happy and Healthy Plant-Powered Children with More Than 125 Kid-Friendly Vegan Recipes, from the creator of the award-winning documentary Vegucated. And I'm meeting her for the first time today. Please welcome her to the show. It's so nice to meet you. I'm a fan of your work. It's been a long time.
Thank you so much. Yes, I've been following you for as long as I've been doing this. I got into sort of the Whole Foods, no oil, world through Dr. Furman. And then through that, just hit me into this whole trajectory of amazing chefs like yourself.
Well, thank you. I think it's been like a little over 10 years since the documentary first came out, right?
That's right. It's been a while, and I actually was working on it for 7 years. So this has been sort of in the process for about 17 years.
Wow. I'm sure you get asked this a lot, but are you still in touch with the three people that were in the film?
I do, and I'm in touch, yes, loosely in touch with all of them. I'm definitely in touch with Tesla, who's the sort of, college student in the film. Now she's a real estate agent on Long Island, and she's got a lovely daughter. And then she married Harry, the boyfriend that she meets in the end of the documentary. And she's mostly plant-based. She's been mostly vegetarian, on again, off again, vegan this whole time. She's sort of, she's on and off again, which I think, a lot of people struggle with that. We saw her struggles in the film, and she continues to have a journey with it. But I love how she's just always ready to get back on board every time. And then Brian he also has kids. He moved out to California and hooked up with this vegan woman, and they have 2 gorgeous vegan children. And then Ellen, who's the single mom in the film, she's still in New York City, and she's doing a lot of writing and comedy and stuff like that. And I'm not sure, I think she's still vegetarian, but I should check in with her.
Maybe you could have a Vegucated reunion.
We did about 8 years ago, but I think we should again. I think you're right. Or at least a reunion on Zoom or something,
That is so cool. Yeah, I didn't have no idea it took 7 years to make that film.
Yeah, because either, you can't make a film that's good and fast and cheap, and I didn't have money, so I made it good and cheap and very slowly.
Did you have any experience as a filmmaker before doing this?
No, not one class. I mean, I'd done some acting here and there, but I hadn't even taken one film class. But I hired an intern, Frank Mataska, who ended up being my co-producer. And then when we were about to launch it, we brought Demetris Bagley on board, and he was our co-producer of specializing in our distribution. But I had some fantastic editors and sound editors. One just won a Grammy. Not a Grammy, what's the one for TV? An Emmy. He won an Emmy, or 2 Emmys, actually. He won 2 Emmys, Eric Milano. So I had a great team. Even though I didn't know what I was doing, I surrounded myself with people who did.
That is fantastic. That's really cool. And now you're on. And is this your first book, The Vegucated Family Table? I wanted to say I almost read the Vegucated Family Bible, but it could
be even better. That's what we should have called it. Yes, that's my first book. I had my first kid. Now I have 2. They're 5 and a half. I have to remember the half, and 8. And when they were babies, when my first one was a baby, I didn't really know. None of the books really told you what to feed vegan babies. There were no vegan until this one. There were no vegan like baby food, toddler food, little kid cookbooks. And so I was just, texting my friends and messaging people, and they were asking me, and I was asking them, and just piecemeal blogs and this and that. And I said, someone really should make this book. And then it was one of those moments where I was like, well, I guess I can do it. And having had the platform and everything, I got an agent pretty quickly, and the rest we just went from there. But one important piece is my co-author Laura Delhauer. I hired her sort of to be a mother's helper, but she is a really good chef, and quickly it became evident that she was better in the kitchen, just intuitively creating stuff. And I gave her a recipe from, I think, Carol Adams' book, Living with Meat Eaters, which was an African peanut soup. And she hadn't had anything like that before. And she said, this is so good. So she kind of tweaked it and made it her own. And it ended up in the book.
Great. So we have some nice comments from live viewers like Jennifer. Vegucated was so good in the first vegan movie I saw. I think a lot of people could say that, and that's the reason they eventually went vegan.
Thank you, Jennifer. It's so great to hear from people like you. It just makes it all that work worthwhile. Yeah, and I mean, it's an old documentary still, but it's great to hear from people on their, veganiversary. Sometimes they'll tag me or drop me a line. It just fills the cup. So thank you.
Well, it's on. I checked. It's on Amazon Prime now. So people have Amazon can watch.
Yeah, can still watch it. That's right.
Absolutely free. So speaking of veganiversaries, when's yours and what propelled you to originally go vegan?
Right. So mine is January 5th, and this is my 19th. This was my 19th veganiversary this year. And I had lived with vegetarians for 7 years, but I never identified with that because I'm from Indiana and I'm of, pioneer stock, and my mother's from Germany. And it was just not really culturally relevant to me. So I thought, oh, nice that other people do it, but it's not for me. And then I was at my Unitarian Universalist church, and someone showed an old documentary by Tom Reagan called We Are All Noah. And it just blew my mind, a lot about factory farming. And I thought, well, this can happen, but not because of me. I don't want anything to do with this factory farming. And then I took some literature and read more about it. And I realized, well, vegetarian isn't the whole deal. Veganism is really, where it's at. And not only are you obviously saving animals, but you're protecting your own health and the planet. So it was a no-brainer, and I've been vegan ever since.
That's funny. That's a name from the past. I met Tom Reagan, I think 35 years ago at an animal rights conference.
Wow. Wait, how long have you been vegan, Chef?
Oh my God, I'm almost at my 44th year pretty soon.
You were one of those. You should get like a plaque.
I have one. Hold on, I'll get it. I do. They gave it to me. Let me show you. That's so funny. I do have it. I do have a plaque. It says, a Vegetarian Hall of Fame, Chef AJ, July 7th, 2018. You've made this world a better place. It's from NAVS, the North American Vegetarian Society. So I do have one.
Thank you, NAVS. Oh, I'm so sad about Summerfest.
Yeah, this was, oh, well, sure. I think they showed your documentary there.
Yep, that was the first public showing ever.
Because that's probably where I saw it. Because I mean, it's been a while, but I mean, when I went on Amazon Prime, I'm like, I saw this, but it was like 10 years ago. Yeah,
it was. It was that summer of 2011. Is that right? I think 2011 it was. Yeah, it was that summer, and we got feedback, and then we brought it to the AR conference, and then we did a little theatrical tour.
Well, obviously you just are very creative. I went to your Instagram for your cakes, and it's like, I used to be a pastry chef. Mine never looked like that. You're very talented.
Thank you. Well, I do love to decorate and eat cakes, and I love to gift them too. There's just something really special about making something for someone and giving it to them.
Wow. Kathy says, I love Marisa. Her and Brian Flegel are who inspired me to become vegan because of Vegucated. That must be nice to have something like there that you did, and it's there forever, and then people can. It
is. It really is. It's such a great feeling. I mean, I hope everybody has that feeling, in their life where they're like, you know what, I made my contribution, whatever it is, in whatever space. It's so fulfilling. And I hope to make another documentary, but COVID times is not the time to be running around with a camera. So we'll see.
That would be so cool, because of all films, I love documentaries more than I think than anything, comedies too, but that must be so cool to make a documentary film.
It is. Well, I didn't know what I was doing, and I think that was both good and bad. I think it was good because I didn't know how much work it was, but it was bad because I did make every mistake in the book. And it just took so much longer. Whatever I didn't do in pre-production or production, I had to fix in post-production. So now I know how not to make a documentary. So now I feel like I would just be able to do it just a lot more efficiently.
Maybe you can make a documentary on how to make a documentary.
Yeah. Oh my God. That, or make it a comedy, how not to make a documentary and make it like a whole big spoof.
That's so funny. Well, I'm excited about the recipe. You know, it's funny because when I was going through this beautiful book and the picture, let's see. Well, kid pictures are so. Are these any of your kids in here?
No, so we had, our shoot was not in New York. Apparently, studio space in New York is through the roof, although now in COVID times, I'm sure it isn't. But at the time, our publisher, which is 10 Speed Press, they're located in San Francisco. So they had us fly. It was cheaper for us to fly out and stay there and be on set while they were producing. And they knocked out all the pictures in 1 week. And those kids were, you know, there were my editor's child and her friend's child and the designers. I mean, it was just the little publishing team that we knew, their community. And none of them were vegan. And all of the kids loved the food. And that was so satisfying to me because even though these were rigorously tested, every recipe, I mean, not the like baby apple purees, like everybody knows how to make apple puree, but like, you know, the more interesting recipes where you just don't know. We had all these volunteer testers. We had 67 testers, I think. Mostly moms who were just trying out foods on their kids, and no recipes landed in the book that were not pre-approved by children.
That is so cool. So you knew before having kids that your kids were going to be vegan, right?
I did, yes. It was just an obvious choice for me.
Yeah. And I asked you when you went vegan, but what was your propelling why? Because I think the why is why people stay or don't stay. Don't you agree?
It's true. It's true. It was animals. It was ethical. I mean, I've always been an animal lover. I was the person who, you know, would bring in any little injured animal into the home, and my mother was like, oh. I was, you know, the protector of the classroom pets, you know, in school, and then I started an environmental club in my high school. So that has always been very important to me. My dad's on the parks board, and, you know, we're, you know, kind of greenies or whatever. So, but I didn't know the connection between animal agriculture and climate change, you know, the soil degradation, the water pollution, all of that, and just the resource usage. I just didn't know. And when you know, you just want to scream it from the rooftops. And so I showed other people's documentaries all around in church basements and you know, college classes, bookstores, like wherever. And then from there, I thought, well, you know, someone should really make a documentary that's like this or like that or like this, you know, where it's funny and it's interesting and it's not just, oh, it's my husband and my daughter, and it's like fun to watch, you know, and not just a bunch of facts.
Your vegan husband and your vegan daughter.
Should I have them wear name badges?
So was your husband vegan when you married him?
So interesting enough, no. So he was eating sea animals at the time, and it's funny. So he teaches animals and public policy at NYU, and he also wrote the first book on animal law when it comes to farm animal law. And he, you know, taught farm animal law, and he started these farm animal law programs at Harvard and elsewhere. So he's been, you know, that's where I met him, at a farm sanctuary farm animal conference. But he wasn't 100% vegan. And believe it or not, it wasn't until COVID, he would like sometimes, you know, sneak a little bit of cookie at a conference table or eat something on the plane that wasn't totally vegan. But just over the past, you know, year of COVID, he's been stuck at home eating my food. And his cholesterol and blood pressure were always a little high, and now they're totally normal.
Nice. That's
so even just that, you know, 5-10% change made all the difference with his numbers. I mean, you know, you wouldn't think that much of just a small change like that would make that much of a difference, but it did. He doesn't take any medicine now.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what are you going to make for us today?
So I'm going to make that peanut stew that I was talking about. And normally I make it with a little bit of oil, but I am so happy to make it with no oil today. I'm going to move you a little bit over here so that you can see what I'm doing better on my stove. So first, I have a new induction stove and I love it. It preheats things so quickly. It's great. So first I'm going to add a little bit of water, you know, a few tablespoons. It doesn't matter because you can always add more if things are sticking. And while that heats up, I'm going to actually peel my sweet potato because I didn't want to peel it for you because sweet potatoes turn like a weird, ugly brown. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do it over here because I need my cutting board. But this is a recipe that is just a real crowd pleaser. I have been to Africa a few times. I went with my family to Northern Africa, but really when I was introduced to a lot of ground nut recipes, that's what they call them, not peanuts, but ground nuts. It was in East Africa and South Africa. And so that's one reason why I heard someone say, we shouldn't refer to this stew as African because, and I had been, because Africa, you don't say, you know, European stew, because what does that mean? You know, right, Italian food is very different than Polish food, which is very different than Spanish food, right? So this, so we shouldn't, you know, throw all the African cuisine together. So I took that note, and so I stopped calling it African peanut stew, and I'm just calling it a peanut stew. But then I do talk about the origins of, you know, just the popularity of the ground nut or peanut in.
Well, it's interesting because peanuts
A
are
lot of
actually peanuts are a legume.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they're technically a legume. And I found out last week that, what did I find out? Oh, avocados are a berry.
Well, I thought they were a fruit.
Which is a berry, but it's specifically a berry or something. I said, that is crazy to me.
And melons are squashes, and zucchini is a fruit. It's crazy, huh?
Yeah, and tomato. You know, obviously there was a law case. Have you been to Nick's in New York City, the restaurant Nick's?
I've only been to New York City a couple times, and it's been many years ago. I don't know how long has Nick's been there.
Oh, a few years. It's really good, but it's named after the court case where they were trying to decide whether tomatoes were a fruit or a vegetable. It was like Nick's versus somebody. That was the name of the court case. And they decided that it was a vegetable, even though really a lot of people consider it more of a fruit.
So it wouldn't have been there the last time I was there. I was at the Candle restaurant. I can't remember which one because they have quite a few.
Well, they did, Chef AJ, but they've closed most of them. Now the only one left is the original. And it breaks my heart because they were wonderful. And of course, the owners, Joy and Bart, are fantastic people. And they were a real anchor for the vegan community for a long time, all of their restaurants. And they supported everybody's events. And it just was pure luck. It was a gas line leak and some real estate deal that just made it not realistic or possible anymore, sadly, for them to survive. But we are so grateful for having had them in the community. So now I've got my water here. It's sizzling, it's boiling. I'm going to throw in 4 garlic cloves minced. Can you see? Not really super well. I need one of those hot plates. And then I'm also going to, oh, sorry, that's ginger. That was actually 1 knob of fresh ginger peeled and grated. This is my 4 garlic cloves. And you're going to do these for, you know, not too long because they will burn. Depends, I guess, on how high you've got your oven on, but your stove here. But I've got mine on medium. And so you just want till it's fragrant so that you don't burn it. And then you're going to add your onion. And I'm lazy, so I use my Vidalia chop wizard.
I use that thing. I love it. It's not lazy. That thing's great.
Well, it's efficient, isn't it? I learned about this from Dr. Furman. I saw him. I was buying my vitamins from him recently. I was like, he's still selling that chop wizard. Good for him. Because I think that's one reason why a lot of people, you know, they're like, oh, the vegetables and the chopping. But when you've got little tricks like this, it's not so bad. I see that it's already getting a little bit dry, so I'm just adding a little more water. Do you broth saute or water saute?
No, I don't do either. I just throw everything in the Instant Pot and hope for the best.
Oh, oh, nice.
I rarely use the stove. It's either the Instant Pot or the air fryer.
Oh, right, the air fryer. Everybody's in love with the air fryers.
Do you have an air
Okay.
fryer?
No, no, because I should. I mean, I don't really fry things anyway. But people say they use it for all sorts of things, not just, frying things. What do you use yours for?
Oh my God, everything vegetable. I use my, well, I got the Breville, so it's my oven. I bake with it. It dehydrates. That's what I use
How
for.
big is it? Is it like
Oh, it's
how
not.
big
It's
is
not any. The computer that I'm on is a Mac. It's not any bigger than my computer. So like,
Wow,
it's right under the counter.
that is amazing. Yeah, I've got this Manhattan kitchen, and I've got my Vitamix, I've got a waffle maker. Oh, I have this white bean wonder waffle recipe that uses beans in waffles. So I do that a lot. The kids love it. So I've got my KitchenAid for my cakes. I've got a lot on my counter. But you're saying it's worth it to add another thing. I should get an air fryer then?
I love it. What can I tell you?
All
But do you
right.
have an Instant Pot though? Because I always tell people get the Instant Pot first.
I don't. I need to do that too. I'm so old school, like out of the loop. Everybody's screaming and hollering about these things, and I am so behind the times. Okay, so I'm adding my sweet potato here, and it's just one, and I've chopped it into small chunks. Obviously, the smaller you chop the chunks into, the faster it'll cook. Oh, I just love it. It smells so good. Oh my gosh. Yeah, kids love this recipe. Parents love this recipe. You can do it if you don't want sweet potato. You can do a, Yukon Gold. You can do whatever kind of potato in here. It'll still turn out good, but the sweet potato is more authentic. And obviously you've got that vitamin A. All right, so now I'm adding tomato paste. So I have 1 can of tomato paste, and I opened it upside down. I wasn't even looking.
Well, you know what? Your birthday's coming up, so I think it'd be a good time to get a present, an air fryer and an Instant Pot.
Oh my gosh, you read my mind. I actually was thinking about it. Well, my husband, we had a rice cooker that we got, a fancy rice cooker from the Coalition for Healthy School Foods auction a few years back, and it broke. So my husband said, "Oh, do you want that? Should we get a new one?" And I thought, "Oh no, why get a rice cooker to clutter my counters when I could get a a beautiful Instant Pot?"
You know what?
So now I'm gonna add.
I like my rice better in my rice cooker than my Instant Pot. I just think it comes
Is it
out.
really? Do you really? Is
I
it better?
well, maybe I don't know how to use the Instant Pot for rice, but what I love about the rice cooker is I don't have to memorize anything or look anything up. It comes with this little thing, and it's like
Yep.
whatever cups, it's had many cups of water.
Yep.
Instant Pot, you gotta it's different for different amounts. So I just gave up. But
You know what? That's smart. You got to know what you want to deal with and what you don't want to deal with in the moment, because even subconsciously, if you see yourself, having a struggle with something, you're like, you know what? I'm not going to make that thing,
for people
So
who
I'm
are
just
on the
like
fence,
peanut butter, half a cup of peanut butter in there, and I'll show you what it looks like. Ew, it looks like a grungy mess, but I'm about to add broth. So it's okay, but it smells amazing.
now that looks good. For people on the fence, they could get a combination Instant Pot air fryer. So it's like a 2-for-1.
Oh, ooh, is there such a thing? See, I don't even know.
Absolutely. Where have you been? You're in New York.
I know, I'm under rock. Like people say, "Oh, did you know about this celebrity or that?" And I'm like, "No." Like, do you know so and so in popular culture? I'm like, "No." I don't know what I do. I just, I'm baking all the time and hanging out with my kids, I guess.
Oh, Linda Middlesworth says hello. And how old are your kids now?
Oh, Linda, I love you, Linda. They're 5.5 and 8. So can you believe it? They are so big. I've just added 4 cups of broth, but I'm going to add another one. You could do water, but really the broth is better. Do you have a favorite broth, Chef AJ?
Honestly, I like this powdered, it's local spicery. Nick makes this it's like you add it to water, and that way I don't have to have packaging. And so I forget the name of it. I think it's called Bada Bing or something. I don't remember, but
Ooh,
that's my favorite. It's from local spice.
bada bing.
Yeah, 'cause it's really
Nice.
good.
Oh, I miss Linda. Linda, I miss you. I want to come out and see you. Linda was amazing on the tour. She really helped with the Sacramento screening big time. She really kind of organized it. I'll be forever grateful to you, Linda.
No. It's called the
Let's see.
Vidalia Chop Wizard, I believe, Jennifer. And
Yes, Vidalia Chop Wizard.
not only Dr. Furman's website, but you can get it at Bed Bath & Beyond and then use your coupon. It's fantastic. You can do onions in it and zucchini, even potatoes if you cut them small enough.
Right. I did. What did I do? Mushrooms the other day.
I'll put a link up to the chopper, and I'm also putting a link up to your book if they want to check it out.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. A lot of people say, well, I don't know any, I don't have any babies. Well, if you've even just got, grandkids, or we eat these things all the time. We eat all the food. It's funny. There are a lot of foods that are in the baby chapter. I'm like, we eat that every week.
Yeah, this is food for grown-ups too.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So actually, for example, khichdi is one recipe that is from, one thing I forgot to mention is a lot of these recipes are contributed by vegan parents. So I asked them to contribute their tried and true recipes. So, not every family eats different. And so, not every family eats the same, so they eat differently. So I asked Poulin Modi, who used to work for PETA, what he feeds his kids. And khichdi is an Indian dish. It's a comfort dish. And my husband said it's the best Indian food I've ever made. Thank you, Poulin. But that's in there. And see, that's in the baby section. There's nothing really baby food about it. It's the texture and the flavor. You can make it, make it spicy or less spicy depending on the palate. The baby's palate, your palate. You can give them something bland, that if they want, and then spice up your own. So yeah. Oh, and this cashew cream kale was inspired by Dr. Furman, actually. When we went to his house in the documentary Vegucated, he was introducing us to different recipes, and he said this cream kale was his son's favorite recipe. And we tried it. His son was 3, and it was so good. But instead of using Dr. Furman's cashew cream, I used Drina Burton's, and boy, is it good. Drina Burton is phenomenal. I have all of her books.
Do your kids have a favorite recipe from the book?
Yes. My son loves Gabriel's green sauce, or gween sauce, we call it in the book, because when he was little, he would ask for gween sauce. And it's just a pesto. It's like a basil and cilantro pesto, and we make it with almonds. But you can make it with any nut, walnuts. You can make it with pine nuts if you have a nut allergy. So I'd say that is his favorite. And Emmeline's too, but she's a sweet girl. She's like me. She loves her sweets. So I would say her favorite recipe would be my classic nut-free cake. And there's nothing healthy about that cake. I'm not even going to pretend. It's just the cake when you have to really wow people, or, where for classroom birthday parties, you have to bring cupcakes in. It's perfect for that.
That's cool.
Yeah. And my daughter, to be fair, she loves our mac-o'-lantern and cheese. And that is a pumpkin-based, mac and cheese recipe. So she asks for that about every week. We have that.
Are your kids little vegan activists yet?
In their own way. My son, okay, so it's boiling now, and I'm going to add some greens. My son is much more outspoken in terms of his love for animals. He just is a wildlife nut. And like he just watched a Zoom class on rescuing baby birds. So he's definitely an animal person. My daughter loves to cook. She loves to invent new recipes, and it's super cute to see her in the kitchen and just let her creativity flow.
That's neat.
Yeah. Now I'm just going to add some greens. So I'm going to show you how it's boiling. It's got this gorgeous deep orange color from those sweet potatoes. And Laura often uses bok choy, and that's what's in the recipe officially, just 2 or 3 handfuls. But I actually like kale better in this. You can do kale, you can do collards, you could probably do spinach, although it might, just shrink really small. I like the texture of the kale, although with my children, if they see a bunch, they like kale chips and things, but if they see a bunch of kale floating around in a soup, they're like, ah, so I puree it for them. Kids are so funny about their food. It's funny. Yeah, so we purposely added lots of options and tips for parents if they're having a hard time getting their kids to like certain things. You say, well, some kids like this blended, for example, so that they don't see the stuff. But obviously, over time, you want them to get used to all the good things. But when they reach, there's this, tricky stage between ages 2 and 6 where they just have, well, a lot of them have neophobia, where they're just afraid of new things. So you just got to get kind of creative.
You've got to keep offering though, right? I mean, people say my kids don't eat vegetables. So, they say they're picky eaters, but I think when you don't give them crap, they're not as picky.
Well, their taste, if their tastes are attuned to those really strong, fatty, salty, sweet things, that's what they're going to expect, yeah. But then I also see parents go in the other direction where they feed their kids food. I mean, obviously babies shouldn't have salt, but they won't put salt on or any seasonings on their vegetables because they want the kids to get accustomed to the flavor of things. But that's great. And if their kids like it, that's awesome. But a lot of kids don't. So for example, my daughter wouldn't touch asparagus, wouldn't touch it. But then once I squeezed a little bit of lemon and put a little nutritional yeast, then she loved it. So, nutritional yeast has been just magical. And I don't know how you stand on it, but it's just kind of a magical ingredient for kids. Once you put nooch on something, zucchini, like whatever, they just love it.
That's a great tip right there.
Yeah, even on avocado, anything with avocados, like an avocado toast, put a little sprinkle, and that just instantly makes it more interesting.
Yeah. Tell us
So
about
let me check in on my soup. What was that?
Oh, your co-writer, Laura.
Yes, Laura is wonderful. So Laura is she's a greenie, and she came to this from a health perspective. Her brother, who is younger, had all these kidney stones, and she was kind of researching ways to, help him with his diet, and just came across plant-based stuff, vegan stuff, and said, well, if that works for him, and it did seem to help, it did help him. So, well, let me try it for myself. So slowly she transitioned, and she's teaching cooking classes right now. Her name is Laura Delhauer. You can follow her on Instagram. That's where she posts most. But she did a class on this, not too long ago. But she does all kinds of good classes, and is just a lovely person to work with. She taught me so much. She taught me, about palm oil, the palm oil industry. She taught me about, just from a health perspective, like how to make a beautiful cake sweetened with just dates, and those kinds of things. So having a health vegan, and an ethical vegan together on a book, I think it really was helpful so that we could appeal to different people and give different options, So yes, we have that, sort of basic, delicious, celebratory birthday cake, but we also have Baby's First Smash Cake, which is a date-based cake, and it's super delicious too. So we have options for everyone.
And when did that smash cake thing start? That's just crazy.
I know. When did that start? I mean, I didn't know about it until I had my kids. So 8 years ago was the first time I went to a first birthday party, and I saw the cake smash where the kid got their own little cake and just went to town with it. But I did that too, and I think I made a basic cake for my no, I didn't do a smash cake for my son. No, I didn't. I just gave him a little slice of, regular cake, and he hadn't had sugar, Chef AJ. And so he crashed big time. And I learned my lesson, and I thought, well, for these kids, these babies who've never had sugar before, do you want a cranky, crashed out baby at their own birthday? No. So that's one reason why we made this smash cake with, whole flour and dates and stuff like that.
Well, I think a kid would be just as happy smashing his hand or her hand into mashed potatoes. I don't think it matters what it is. They just like the
I
smashing.
think you're right. I think you're right. I think they just, but people like, the picture and the tradition of it. So, yeah. And also the gender reveal parties, those are a big deal too. And I just don't understand that because, we have a trans kid in our little neighborhood who's a good friend's daughter. And when people say it's a boy, I'm like, maybe for a while. You don't know. Kids have so many more options these days. So I'm just checking in every once in a while on my potatoes, on my sweet potatoes, and they are getting softer, but I'm going to give it a couple more minutes. Yeah, maybe just like 3 more minutes or so, and then I'll ladle it out and serve it.
That looks amazing. So have you decided what your next film's going to be about?
Well, I would like to make one about vegan youth. I feel like nobody has more at stake when it comes to climate change, obviously, than the youth, and they really get it. My kids march in the climate. Well, we haven't this year, but whatever climate march there is, we will go. And we see lots of other, just kids turning out like in droves, and thanks to Greta and those young activists. So I'm grateful to them, and I would love to sort of capture that energy, that urgency, and just their stories and their passion, not just from an environmental perspective, from various social justice and health perspectives. I mean, they're living in a world, and they have access or don't have access to foods in such a different way than we did growing up. And so I think it would be fun to capture that.
Do you still have your rescued goldfish?
I do. Can I show you?
Yeah. How long do goldfish live?
14 years, I heard they can.
Wow.
Yeah. So my son got really attached to a fish in his preschool classroom, and so when he was so sad to say goodbye to that fish, and so we went to Sean Casey Animal Rescue in Brooklyn and got these 2 lovely fish, and we've had them for almost 4 years now, 3.5 years. So they're doing fine. That's Penelope or Penny, and that's Color. My son named him Color because he has 2 colors.
So cool. Is it a boy and a girl, or
we have no idea. We're gendering them. I mean,
right.
I guess what we should do is call them they, because we don't know, but
right. I'm just wondering if they can reproduce.
They would need a colder temperature. So they only spawn in, I think it's like 50 something degrees, and I don't want to bring my thermostat down to 50 something degrees. I think they need colder temperatures and certain conditions for that to work. So it's not super likely for just a fish in a tank in your home to reproduce.
What do they eat?
Funnily enough, they have little fish food, but when I had fish growing up, we really didn't know much about them, and so we didn't know that they need fiber, and that fiber is really healthy for them. So once or twice a week, they either get a thawed frozen pea, which I cut up, or they'll get a slice of cucumber, peeled cucumber, or they'll get broccoli. If you lightly steam broccoli, put it on a fork and then put them at the bottom of the tank. They will go to town on that broccoli all day long. It's super cute. They'll nosh on lettuce, zucchini. I mean, they actually really love the veggies.
I'm going to be having Jonathan Bell come on soon, because a lot of people don't think of fish as animals. They just think of them. I mean, it's like I don't eat animals, but they eat fish. And what is it then if it's not an animal? It's not a plant.
That's right. I mean, that's the first thing, right? When you go to a restaurant and you explain you're vegan, and they say, "But you eat fish," and you're like, "Is it a plant?" And sometimes you see them realize in the moment, "Oh, no, it's not." You see the sort of opening and awakening happening right there. But yeah, no, they certainly have wonderful memories. In fact, people would like for fish not to be able to feel pain. But if you think about how sensitive they have to be physically to navigate the waters, I mean, just to feel any little vibration, I mean, they have so many, nerves and are so sensitive. So that's why I love to talk about our rescued goldfish.
Yeah, they're cute. Thanks. I heard about that. And yeah, they're great.
So I think it's cool enough. I'm going to ladle this.
Linda
right
Billsworth wants to know, can you find fish rescue places anywhere?
Oh, that is such a great question. No, I just asked on Facebook. I said, does anybody know? I asked my hive. I said, does anybody know a rescue that does exotics? And fish are considered exotic for some reason. So I was told to check out Sean Casey, and they have lizards, frogs, snakes, all manner of rodents, and dogs and cats. So I would just look for an exotic rescue near you, or ask your social networking hive. But I call them all the time because I really would love an algae eater to help with cleaning out the algae in there. So I'm calling them all the time. Do you have an algae eater? Because I don't want to buy from a pet store. So I'm just ladling here. We've got some lovely kale here.
Jennifer wants to know, do you have a particular brand of nutritional yeast that you like?
I was listening to Dr. Greger's Nutrition Facts, an episode about nutritional yeast. And he said sometimes they can have high levels of toxins. So I think he said the one that was sort of past the test at the time was Bragg's. So I've been buying Bragg's. Is that what you use, Chef AJ?
You know what? I'm one of these people. I'm so sensitive to it. It always gives me tummy problems. So I listen to what Dr. Furman said when I make it in other people's recipes, and just buy an unfortified brand. Dylan Holmes' Well Your World has a good one, and one called Sari, S-A-R-I. But I didn't know about the toxin thing now. I'll have to watch Dr. Greger's
Yeah, I think is it lead? I don't remember, but it was something kind of upsetting. It was arsenic. I don't even know. Feels like everything has arsenic in it now. But now, is it the supplementation? Is the fortification that causes the tummy problems? Do you think that's what it is?
Because I use an unfortified. Some people are just sensitive to it.
My mom's the same way. She can't have it. So I don't cook with it when I go home to Indiana.
I mean, I love it, but it gives me such bad abdominal pain and bloating.
Same with my mother. She can't have it. It's just it wrecks her stomach. Also with her, any sort of processed soy, even tofu, she can't even have.
I'm allergic. That's me too. And hey, your mom could come to dinner here. I'm allergic to soy. This is perfect. We can eat together.
She also has a sensitivity to garlic, which is a Northern European thing. For some reason, Northern European, a roommate couldn't do any allium vegetables. One of my vegetarian roommates, and that's got to be tough. No onions has got to be really tough.
I think that would be the hardest thing if somebody said no onion. I could almost do no garlic, but don't take my onion away.
Exactly.
Is your mom vegan?
No, but she is so much more plant-based than she used to be. And she she was the original animal lover in our home, and she would teach us, to scoop up spiders with the card or the paper and cup trick. And she was the real animal lover in the family, and just taught us to love and respect animals of all species. So she's definitely more vegan than she ever was before, but she has some digestive issues even beyond the nutritional yeast and stuff. And she's a little bit limited in what she can have, but she's been doing much more almond milk now. Things that she used to be able to tolerate, now she can't. So she's a lot more vegan than she used to be. And I think also older folks, sometimes if they don't have a good enough reason to, it's hard for them to change. And because she's never had, heart disease or, diabetes or anything like that, it's, she doesn't have quite the same motivation as other people might. In that regard.
Well, I think it was it you were talking about the Coalition for Healthy Eating, the New York organization, Amy Hamlin.
Hmm.
And I think she's the
Yeah,
one that said that most people go vegan like between 17 and 22.
that makes sense. Yeah, because that's when you're questioning everything. A lot of people go to college. I mean, my mind was blown in college. I went, was from Indiana and I went to Smith, and that was those were my first real interactions with, LGBTQ folks of my age group. Also, I met my first Jewish friends, that kind of a thing. So it was, yeah, I think college is a time when people of exploration and discovery and questioning everything. So that makes sense to me.
Wow. Well, it's interesting
When
because
what was your impetus? I have to know.
same
What was
thing,
your impetus?
animals, man.
Okay.
I cut the head off a salamander, and was it, because I was told to do that by the doctor I was working for. I was pre-vet at University of Pennsylvania. It was my job. I did it once, and I said, I'm not doing this anymore. And I became an instant vegan on September 1st, 1977, an instant ethical vegan. But there were no
Oh,
documentaries like yours or books like this,
right.
Bill Barnard. So
I
here
can't believe you were in vet school when I mean, you look
Yeah,
incredible.
I'll be 61 in like 10 days or something like that, March
It's kind
22nd.
of
But I'm
kind of
telling you,
unfair.
vegan is great. But I didn't. Here's the problem: is I didn't do it healthfully at all because
Sure.
I didn't know what to do. So instead of eating fruits and vegetables, I just took meat out, which means I could eat a lot of crap like Coke Slurpees and Dr. Pepper and potato chips and French fries. So I didn't eat any real food till I was 43, and that's how I got to almost 200 pounds and had pre-colon cancer. So that's why I'm so passionate about people eating healthy vegan. Yes, there can be a transition, but some people never transition. That's the problem.
True. It's true. Well, I encourage people to go vegan for all the different reasons, but I feel like the health and the ethical go hand in hand, because if it's just about health, sometimes, as you know, they'll go wherever the wind blows, you know, and so they'll go to paleo or keto and back to vegan, and they'll just kind of waft around. But once you add the ethical component, then that's something that grounds them into that, and it becomes part of their set of ethics. Conversely, I feel like people who have much the same experience as you do, where they go vegan for the animals, don't learn enough about the health, and then just suffer the results. And sometimes what happens is it backfires because they don't do it right, and they say veganism isn't right for me, and it's like, well, no, that brand of veganism is not right for you. French fries and whatever. But so we need both. We need both.
Yeah. Well, in 1977, there was no vegan junk food, yet I still managed to eat an extremely unhealthy diet. But I think you're right that if you don't have that ethical piece, it's just too easy to eat animals. So, for example, people that are like, I have friends that are Orthodox Jews, and they will not eat bacon, ham, pork, or no matter what. It doesn't matter if they're hungry or if they're lonely or stressed or tired or if it looks good. It's like they drew a line in the sand, and eating non-kosher food
Right.
is non-negotiable. And
Right.
people that are vegan for ethical reasons, you just don't eat animals. It doesn't matter the reason. And the problem
Yeah.
is when you do it for health, and if that's your only reason, you're like, well, this one meal I could still, my blood
Exactly.
pressure's under control now, my diet, what's one meal going to hurt? Well, maybe not your blood pressure, but it hurt the animal that's no longer living because of you. So I agree, having that ethical piece as the
Yes.
backbone
As
is the
the foundation, but also people like you, who teach others how to do it right. So that they don't backslide and say it's not for me, because
yeah.
the recidivism is little my little daughter just streaked
Okay.
past. She literally streaked
Well,
past.
I only did it right,
Um,
teach people to do it right, because I did it wrong for so many years. Did you show
right.
us the soup, by the way? I know you've been snacking on
I
it.
did. So here it is now. It's just, it's got these lovely green. Oh, I forgot the cilantro. That's the best part. Oh my gosh. Now, do you like cilantro? Or are you like my
I do.
mom and
I'm
you
not
think
one of
it
those
makes,
people that hates it. I
okay.
think it's a gene thing. I like it.
It is a gene
And
thing.
it's pretty, and it supposedly takes rid of
Yeah,
heavy metals or something like that.
that's right. That's right. And about the gene thing, I'm into genealogy, and I did the ancestry traits thing. And it said or ancestry health, I forget. It said that I am more sensitive to bitter flavors in food. So theoretically, you would think that I wouldn't like, kale and other sort of bitter greens or any other bitter foods, but that's something that over time you can overcome and just even crave. I mean, I crave Brussels sprouts, obviously, and so genes are part of it, but they're not the whole deal. Although with cilantro, I've never met anyone who hated cilantro and was able to overcome that. They think it tastes like soap. So here it is. Yeah, it's
But
just,
how do they know
and
it's
I do blend it for my kids because
Yeah.
they don't want to see the stuff in their food
Yeah, the
sometimes.
people that think cilantro tastes like soap, how do they know? I've never tasted soap.
I know. I guess you know what it smells like. I don't
Oh,
know.
that's so funny. Well, that was a great recipe. I would probably like if I was going to do it in the pressure cooker, I would probably do it for, I don't know, depending on how big the sweet potatoes are, maybe 6 or 7 minutes. I think it could be done.
That really, really cuts down on your prep time, doesn't
And
it?
then I would add the greens at the end though, because when you pressure cook greens, they get too smushy.
Okay. Well, thank you for the birthday gift idea.
Yeah.
That is
Well, you gave me
wonderful.
one because I've never done those 23andMe or Ancestry.com. That would be
Yes.
a fun thing to do. I've never done
What
it.
is your background, may I ask?
Yeah, and well, I'm Jewish. I think Ashkenazi. My family's all from Russia originally.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that would be really fun. I do.
Yeah,
have
my husband. Oop, my daughter is like half naked here.
Oh well, if she comes on half naked, I'm going to have to check the box. Not suitable.
Yes, you're gonna have to.
So tell her if she wants to come on, she's welcome to come on, but just to put some clothes on. Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Now my son's coming in, so I should probably go. But yes, you should do the ancestry. It's fun. My husband had no major surprises. He's also Jewish, but he had a little bit of Irish that we didn't know about, so that's fun.
Well, I'm going to do it. It sounds like fun. If your kids ever want to come on, I've had a lot of people's kids, like the Sherzai's kids, and so we love having kids. The recipe is always already available, guys. The recipe, Marisa gave it to us. It's in the show notes, which is on YouTube, so it's there. But instead of just that recipe, get the book, and then you'll get all the recipes, 125, more than 125.
And if you know anybody who's pregnant or just had a baby and they're interested in going more plant-based, this is a great gift for them too.
Yeah, look, this is pretty. Look at that. I love it. I do make those a lot, the popsicles. So, well, thank you
my
so
kids
much.
love it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Just a minute, my love. All right,
She's
this
coming.
is my cue.
Mom's coming. Thanks so much. Take care.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
And thank you for the
Bye.
wonderful work you do. And thanks all of you for watching another episode of Chef AJ Live. Please come back tomorrow when my guest is Dr. Jessica Krant, the plant-based dermatologist, who is going to finish answering the questions from last week because there were so many, and now there's even more. Take